Breaking! Stop what you're doing and buckle up. Because the queen of reality chaos herself, Tasha K, is finally under the microscope, and trust me, it's not pretty. Did she really think years of spinning drama, twisting stories and turning other people's pain into viral clickbait would go unnoticed? Think again. The courtroom just turned into a media meltdown, and at the center of it all, Bambi, the woman who cried, slipped, and got played on every timeline imaginable, just dropped the real tape. Yes, the one that exposes the blueprint behind every fake tear, every manipulated confession, every so-called raw moment we've all binged like it was gospel truth. Are we talking accident, coincidence, or a calculated plan to profit off someone else's breakdown? Spoiler alert, it's way worse than you imagined. The judge is stunned, the internet is exploding, and Tasha K's empire of reality manipulation is teetering on the edge of collapse. You think you know reality TV? Ha, you don't. What unfolded in that courtroom is going to make every viral scandal, every celebrity meltdown, and every dramatic reunion episode look like amateur art. Stick around, because Bambi just hit play and the truth is messier, darker, and juicier than anyone could have predicted. Alright, buckle up, because the truth you think you know about Tasha K is about to get shredded, flipped, and broadcasted for all to see. And no, this isn't another rumor. This is the kind of courtroom bombshell that makes reality TV scandals look like kids' play. The woman who has built her empire on chaos, drama, and other people's tears has finally met a force she didn't control, and that force is Bambi. The very same woman who cried, stumbled, and got painted as a villain across every timeline, every social media post, and every recut clip imaginable. And now the real tape is out and the world is gasping, wondering how the queen of manufactured reality could ever be caught in her own narrative. Because what Bambi revealed doesn't just topple a storyline, it exposes the entire machinery behind. How her pain was repackaged into entertainment and profit, starting with Tasha K herself, who has long been known for editing moments with surgical precision, cutting seconds here and there, adding reaction shots there, and in some cases, revoicing entire segments to make ordinary reactions seem dramatic, manipulative, and perfectly timed for maximum virality. And we all remember the infamous Battle of the Exes incident, where a simple argument was edited to make one person look like a complete villain. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't accidental, it was signature Tasha K, a method she perfected over years. But now, under the unforgiving glare of the courtroom, it all started to unravel. And let's not forget the backstory, the years of curated chaos, the carefully built image of being the voice of truth, of uncovering scandals while supposedly remaining impartial, when in reality she was orchestrating the chaos behind the camera, coaching reactions, approving edits, and guiding producers on how to make narratives bleed with drama. And then there's Bambi, whose image was manipulated so extensively that the public believed she was a villain in her own life, forced into a narrative she didn't choose, crying on command, reacting on cue. Yet somehow the world applauded and shared, not knowing they were complicit in someone else's misery turned into clicks. And then came the leaks, the footage that revealed just how deep the manipulation went. Files showing post-production meetings where producers debated whether Bambi's tears were intense enough, instructions on camera angles, audio cues, even lighting to heighten the emotional impact. It was meticulous, it was calculated, and it was designed to control perception down to the smallest detail, while the interns, the assistants, the low-level crew were scrambling to follow orders, scrub footage, and make sure the narrative looked seamless. And one of those interns, Lindsay, eventually came forward, clutching the raw footage that contradicted every edited piece, showing a Bambi who was nervous, hesitant, and human, not the unhinged figure the show had portrayed, a woman cornered by contracts, by producers, by an entire system designed to profit off her compliance. And then there's the public reaction, the shock, the disbelief, the fans who suddenly realized that every tweet, every comment, every share was based on a carefully constructed fiction. And suddenly Tasha K's empire of chaos seemed fragile, vulnerable, a house of cards exposed in the harsh light of evidence. While inside the courtroom, the judge was struggling to process the magnitude of the revelations, each new clip making the manipulation more undeniable, more egregious. And the defense and prosecution alike were scrambling, trying to keep up with the narrative that had spun out of Tasha K's control. And as Bambi remained composed, watching the system that had exploited her exposed, a mix of relief, anger, and vindication washed over her, because for the first time the world was seeing the truth, unfiltered, uncut, unmanipulated. The truth that she had been forced to bend. The truth that Tasha K had carefully shaped into a story of guilt, shame, and chaos for entertainment purposes. The truth that now had the power to rewrite not only public perception, but also the legal consequences. And it wasn't just Bambi's life being reconsidered. It was the entire production system, the editors, the producers, the executives, the people who turned human drama into a profit model, who were now on the defensive, scrambling to explain, to justify, to survive. And the tension in the courtroom was palpable, like watching a slow-motion collapse. Every detail scrutinized, every clip replayed, every whispered instruction revealed. And as the public watched online, dissecting every frame, every reaction, every manipulated moment, they began to see a pattern, a system, a machine of manipulation that had been hidden in plain sight. And suddenly the questions were no longer about Bambi's actions. They were about accountability, ethics, and the very nature of reality television and the impact on the people who lived these scripted lives. And as the day wore on, the court began to realize that this wasn't about simple editing errors. This was about intentional design, deliberate control, and profit-driven emotional exploitation. And by the time the first part of evidence concluded, the room was silent, stunned, shocked, realizing that the woman who had claimed to expose reality had been shaping it all along. And Bambi, once the victim of a manufactured narrative, was finally reclaiming the story, piece by piece, clip by clip, showing that reality could be more devastating when it was exposed for what it truly was, leaving the courtroom, the fans, and the industry itself holding their collective breath, waiting for the next revelation to hit, knowing that nothing would ever look the same again. As the courtroom cameras rolled and the evidence continued to play, it became shockingly clear that what had been portrayed as a simple feud between Bambi and Tasha K was actually the tip of an iceberg of manipulation and control. The production team had orchestrated every scene, every reaction, and every confession to create a narrative that was emotionally explosive. And as Bambi sat there calmly watching the raw footage, it was obvious that she had been pushed into a role she never agreed to, forced to bend her emotions and actions to a storyline that benefited everyone but her. And the audience online, previously invested in her downfall, suddenly began questioning everything they had seen, realizing that their outrage and disbelief had been carefully engineered, every edited pause, every zoom, every cut designed to provoke the maximum emotional response, while Tasha K, who had once stood confidently as a voice of truth, was now on edge, her carefully constructed persona crumbling as the clips revealed her role in manipulating not just Bambi, but the entire cast, the interns, and even the viewers themselves. And the testimonies from Lindsay and other insiders painted a picture of a systematic approach to creating drama at any cost, a production line of emotional exploitation where the human element was secondary to ratings and clicks. And as the leaks continued, showing internal emails and voice notes of producers debating how to make Bambi appear unstable, while emphasizing Tasha K as the unbiased observer, the scale of deception became impossible to ignore, revealing that what had been marketed as raw and unscripted content was actually a carefully choreographed performance, in which real people were used as props in a story crafted for maximum shock value. And the public reaction was immediate and intense, with outrage flooding social media as viewers realized they had been watching a highly edited version of reality. And not only was Bambi's credibility restored in the eyes of many, but Tasha K's reputation took a massive hit, leaving her scrambling to defend herself while the network attempted to contain the damage, issuing statements claiming ignorance and promising internal reviews. Yet the evidence was irrefutable, showing a coordinated effort to manipulate perception, control narrative, and profit from other people's pain. And in the midst of it all, the legal implications were mounting, as the judge considered the extent to which these manipulations had influenced the court's understanding of the original case, the ethical violations of editing human experiences into misleading content, and the responsibility of networks and producers in shaping public opinion. While Bambi and Scrappy, having endured the spectacle, finally seemed to regain agency over their stories, stepping forward to challenge the system that had turned their lives into entertainment. And as they navigated the legal and public fallout, the audience could only watch in awe, realizing that the very concept of reality television could be deceptive, exploitative, and far more calculated than ever imagined. And the entire saga left an indelible mark on both the media industry and the public perception of truth, forcing a reckoning that no one involved could ignore. And as the day concluded, it was clear that the narrative had shifted, that Bambi had reclaimed her story, that Tasha K's empire of manipulation was exposed, and that the line between reality and performance had been irrevocably blurred, leaving everyone involved to deal with the consequences of a system that had prioritized drama over truth and profit over people. So now that you've seen behind the curtain, the question is, what are you going to do with this truth? Are you just going to scroll past another scandal? Or are you going to demand accountability from the people who turn human pain into profit? Think about it. Every share, every like, Every retweet fuels a machine that benefits the manipulators, not the real victims and Bambi, Scrappy. And even the whistleblowers like Lindsay showed us that it's possible to push back, to expose the system and to reclaim the narrative. But they can't do it alone. They need eyes, voices, and pressure from the public to hold networks, producers, and so-called reality narrators accountable for what they air and how they manipulate. So I want you to ask yourself, when you watch the next viral clip, who is really controlling the story, who benefits from the outrage, and how much of what you see is real versus carefully edited fiction. And if you're ready to challenge the lies, to support those who dare to speak up, then hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss another deep dive into the scandals they help you ignore, and comment below with your thoughts, your outrage, and your theories. Because this isn't just entertainment, this is a wake-up call about manipulation, media, and the power of exposing the truth, and together we can. Make sure no story stays edited, no narrative goes unchecked, and no one profits from deception without consequences.